to The Subject is Moot, where everything we discuss is debatable. I am Dom, and across from me is...
Mike.
And a special thanks to Vinny and Quiz, the producers of the podcast. We want to hear from you, so write in your opinion, comments, or topics you want us to talk about to thesubjectismoot@yahoo.com, and we will discuss them during future shows. And make sure you stay to the end of the show to find out our artist of the podcast, as well as the answers to our trivia questions. So, Mike, how are you today?
Muy bien.
You're muy bien. Are you sure? You should. I think you should be well rested after the vacation you took.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mike was on vacation for about a month, so he's well rested and he's ready to go. And he should be well rested because I think today is a big show for Mike. We're going to be talking about one of his, actually, I should just say, the most important subject in his music career. But before we get to that, it's time for your moot point, which is brought to you by Vintage Vinyl Records.
Double V.
New Jersey's legendary independent record store since 1979, located at 51 Lafayette Road in Fords, New Jersey.
Fords.
Check out their website as well at vvinyl.com.
Great store, people.
Yeah, it's
I'm there every week. Seriously.
He's there every week signing autographs. So, your moot point, Matt from Akron, Ohio, wrote in. He thanked us for the podcast. He shares the same music interests as we do. He enjoys listening to the podcast while he's at work. He plays guitar in a band with his brother, who plays drums. They do covers and originals at local gigs. And since he plays guitar so much, Mike, he really enjoyed the Van Halen podcast that we did.
He must have understood my point then.
He definitely did, but he didn't chicken out and play the fence. He did pick Hagar.
Sorry, Stu.
Yeah.
I'm still sorry.
So, Matt, thanks for writing in. We always appreciate feedback from our listeners. And getting back to that whole Roth versus Hagar debate, we have people actually still writing in about that. And we've tallied it up. There was about 21 people, not about, but there was 21 people who wrote in. And 11 of them picked Hagar. They kind of felt because he was a little more versatile, being a better vocalist, songwriter, and the fact that he played guitar, that made him win by pretty much just by one. So, Stu, if you're still listening, it's a tough decision. Mike played the fence, as you remember, and expressed your concern. But most of our feedback that we received shows that it can go either way. So I think we've heard it from the fans. So they're kind of in agreement with us. So that's a good thing. Before we get started with our trivia questions, our show today is about guitarists. We are going to talk about our opinion on our favorite guitarists and why. And we have 3 trivia questions that Mike will ask, which is geared towards guitarists. So, Mike, just shoot them out there.
Let's get started. Number 1, what is Saul Hudson's stage name? Saul Hudson. Number 2, who is the only 3-time Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee? Number 3, name the 2 guitar companies John Petrucci endorsed during his career. And who was the main influence for switching from one company to the other?
I think an underground fan is going to really know that answer. Maybe or may not, but I think the general public may not even care what he plays.
Probably not, but any Dream Theater fan will know.
Yeah. Well. So there you have it. We'll give you the answers at the end of the show. So stay tuned, and let's get started with, Mike, your favorite topic, guitarists.
Yeah, it's a topic that it's very close to my heart for this episode. It's my passion, guitar playing, listening to it. Probably as I get older, more so listening to it than anything. I've been listening to guitar players for over 25 years, all different styles, and from shred to metal to rock to blues to jazz, acoustic. And I'm not going to lie, my favorite is probably instrumental guitar playing, shredding a little bit, But I like players who write songs and play. And I'm not one of those guys who feel like the faster you play, that you lose the people miss the point. I believe when guys play faster, there's still feeling there because it's the feeling within the song. And I have a pretty big list of guitar players that I love. I'm sure you know that. Well,
and getting back to that whole shredding, I know we've had this conversation before, and I know who you're referring to with reference to shredding and fast playing. We've had this conversation, Mike and I, with this other person who said Joe Satriani doesn't play with feeling because he's just up there. Joe Satriani makes it look easy.
That's what it is. Yeah.
If you watch me play, you would think I play with a lot of feeling because I stink, because I'm horrible. When you see somebody like Satriani or Vai playing the guitar, they just make it look so easy, like it's not even real. So it makes it look like they're not playing with feeling, when in reality, and they're playing with more feeling than anything. They're just that good.
Well, it also comes down to you have music fans, and you have music fans who love guitar playing. You know, music fans are not going to completely appreciate a player who's playing guitar, who's trying to convey a song just through the guitar without lyrics and vocals. It's very difficult for people to understand. I understand that completely because I listen to a lot of bands with vocals, and I listen to tons of music without vocals. So I could understand where they're coming from, but I will always disagree and butt heads with them.
Oh, and absolutely. I love listening to instrumental is great. It's something you could just throw on in the background, and if you want, you could just like I always say, throw the headphones on and really get lost.
Well, it's difficult too. I mean, you look at the composer of an instrumental guitar song or album. That guitar player has to come up with a solid number of ideas on his own, his or her own, and try to convey this song without lyrics and vocals, as I said before. And that's not easy. It's not easy to keep people's attention through a whole record. And that's one of the reasons why instrumental albums are not as popular. So, but there are definitely, I think there's more to it if people just open their mind a little bit more, but you're not going to change everybody, obviously.
No, and I think a lot of these, G3 guitar tours, they play at more smaller venues than, they're not going to sell out at the Garden or these bigger venues. They're going to play like little theaters and stuff like that because they just can't attract. Not many people want to go see. It's the real music fan, the real guitar fan.
Right.
They want to go and see them play.
But to their credit, it's still going.
Oh yeah.
Overseas, it's bigger now than it is here in America, unfortunately, and which hurts the fan and myself because I don't get to see a G3 tour anymore, but it's still going, and to their credit, after it's almost, I think it's going to be 20 years soon since the first G3, or it may already have been. It's still going strong.
I want to say that was probably
97?
97, yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost there.
Yeah, no, so we saw Satriani, Vi, and Shepard.
Yep, at PNC Banks.
Yep.
Well, at the time it was Garden State Arts Center.
Yep. So we referenced Guitar World's Top 100 list, and if you saw real Rolling Stones Top 100, if you're a real guitar fan, you'd laugh at it. I cannot believe who was on that list. Don't get me wrong. Most of them deserve to be on there. The order was completely out of whack. I mean, Eddie Van Halen was number 8, and I don't believe Satriani and Vi were even on that list. So we're not even going to bring up the Rolling Stone list. We're referencing Guitar World's Top 100.
If you haven't seen the Rolling Stone list, don't bother with it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even waste your time. Guitar World's Top 100. It's a little more realistic, even though I have 4 concerns of mine.
I have plenty of concerns.
No, and you can actually go first. So
no, it's okay. You can go.
No, it doesn't matter. But the Top 100 for Guitar World is pretty realistic, I would think. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to go from number 1 through 10, just to give everybody out there an idea of who's on there. But Eddie Van Halen is number 1. Brian May is number 2. Alex Lifeson is number 3. Jimi Hendrix is number 4. Satriani 5. Jimmy Page is number 6. Tony Iommi is number 7. Stevie Ray Vaughan is number 8. Dimebag Darrell is 9. And Steve Vai is number 10. That gives you an idea of where they were going with their list. But Mike, if you want to break down your list of who you like, maybe who you liked over the years, and then maybe give us your top 5 or so. But break it down for us, please.
I mean, aside from this list, my list is my own personal list, but also it's a list that I feel it took time for me to compile. I've put a lot of time listening to instrumental guitar players who are in bands. So this list is close to my heart, obviously, because it's my personal list. But I feel like anyone out there who plays guitar, who likes similar music to myself, and even if you don't necessarily like to listen to instrumental music and you want to open your mind to it a little bit, there are players out there that I feel have a lot to say with their guitar. If you could just open your mind a little bit to instrumental guitar playing and understand the song within the instrument itself. If you listen to some of the players on my list, I think they're of the style of music that they're playing, they're at their top of their game. And number 1 on my list is Joe Satriani. I met him. I've been listening to him for 25 plus years. I love. He never disappoints me. Every record is phenomenal. He's had a few hiccups through his career, but who hasn't after for as long as he's been around? But I just consider them minor hiccups. Steve Vai is second. Well, they're really both sharing number one for me personally.
1 and 1B.
Yeah, they complement each other. They grew up with each other. Satriani gave Vi some lessons. I mean, they're lifelong friends. Their styles are different, yet they both kind of just, I think they epitomize instrumental guitar playing. 3 is Paul Gilbert. The guy is just unbelievably clean. He may play fast. Even going back to his Racer X stuff, which I love. And if you haven't heard any of that, if you're a metal fan, you should just check that out. Everything he does, all of these players, I love everything that these guys do, and they've been consistent throughout the years. I'm not going to keep going on about each player, but next is George Lynch. His early Doc and stuff is, as far as that, metal, 80s metal era, the guy just shredded. He was great. Nuno Betancourt is next, underrated player. Unfortunately, lumped into that late 80s metal era where ballads were everything and More Than Words was huge. But if you listen to his playing, he really could have been a possible second or third coming of Eddie Van Halen. John Petrucci, Dream Theater fans out there know what I'm talking about. Another guy who just keeps going, consistency. Eddie's Eddie. I don't think I need to say anything about Eddie Van Halen. Doug Ott, who is one of my personal favorites. He's from a band called Enchant out of California. Great progressive rock band, very influenced by Rush and Kansas and Marillion and Styx. Just a great underrated band with great songs. His style was very good, nice and clean, chorus sound, great stuff. Jeff Coleman, another great unknown player. He was in a band called Edwin Dare. He's done some side projects called Cosmo Squad and the Bombastic Meat Bats with the drummer from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Just really good. He's just a great player. Soulful, tons of feeling, could handle any style of music. The guys from Angra, band from Brazil, Kiko Loureiro and Rafael Betancourt, great players. Chris Letcher from Scale the Summit, and the whole band Scale the Summit. They should have been on Guitar Magazine, the front, at least 3 times already. Warren DeMartini from Rat. Vito Bratta, another underrated player, in my opinion. But you'll hear his...
Bratta, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you'll hear his name in a few minutes again. He should have really been the second coming of Eddie. But Jim Matheos and Frank Aresti from Fate's Warning. Obviously, Dave Murray and Adrian Smith from Maiden. Jeff Loomis from Nevermore. Zach Wilde. Andy Timmons, Bumblefoot, Ron Thal, Matthias Eckler from Sweden, and very underrated player. My list goes on and on. I'll touch on some of the newer guys that are out there that people should be checking out. I call the Bandcamp wave. This guy Plini, Plini, phenomenal player with tons of feeling and style. Not really a shredder. He writes great songs. Sithu A, they both know each other too. It's almost like the modern day Satriani and Vi, in my opinion. 2 great players. Aaron Marshall from Intervals just put out a monster record. Pomegranate Tiger, Polyphia, Chan, Martin Miller. And these are guys that definitely people should be checking out, in my opinion. And on the blues end, B.B. King, obviously, is probably one of the greatest blues guitar player of all time. C. Ray Vaughan is my favorite. Gary Moore, Joe Bonamassa. Then even going back to the shred era of Vinnie Moore, Tony McAlpine, Greg Howe, Yngwie, of course. There was a guy out there years ago named Blue Saraceno, who unfortunately hasn't made any records in a while, but his 3 records are worth looking into. And the list goes on. And there's just so many great players out there who have something to say with their instrument. And, again, it's my list, but I just would anyone out there who plays guitar who may have not heard of some of the players I've mentioned, please look into them. Write in if you have any recommendations of your own, or if you want any more recommendations. It's something I can keep going on and on about. There's even instrumental bands that are coming about nowadays that are amazing. Look them up.
And you see the way music is today. Very little solos, and if they are, they're very, very short. Not like what we were used to growing up.
I know.
That's what I like about instrumental guitarists too, so much, because you get to hear their solos because they're going to put a solo in the song, right? They even have probably like an intro, not your standard intro. It could be a little instrumental intro, then the band kicks in, and that's what I like about the instrumental music, like Steve Vai, Eric Johnson, Joe Satriani, things like Yngwie Malmsteen, things like that. That's what I like about the instrumental music, is that you got the solo. You could bank on a solo and really get a good treat from them. Now, my list is definitely a lot shorter than yours, but at some point, if you feel like you've missed somebody, which you know what, you have.
Do you have 2 hours? Do we have 2 hours? Do people want to hear me rattle off guitarists for 2 hours? Underground guitar players? I doubt it.
I think they do. I think the people who really love guitar want to hear more of what you have to say, because they may share the same interests, the same people. But my list is a lot shorter. I play bass, so I have a longer list of bass players.
Slacker.
But for me, it's, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Stevie Ray Vaughan. First, let me take a step back. How I pick my guitars is basically by style, technical ability, and sound. I love sound. And the reason why I bring up sound is, out of those people that I just read, Eddie Van Halen, Satriani, Vai, Stevie Ray Vaughan, those 4 right there, and Eric Clapton, top 5, that's my top 5. But if you look at those 5 players, as far as sound, Satriani and Vai, I think they have the same sound, similar sound. Forget when Steve Vai gets a little wacky with his, with his sound effects and everything. But when you listen to Eddie Van Halen, that's a distinct sound right there. Stevie Ray Vaughan, super distinct blues sound, and Eric Clapton. To me, those 3 are very distinctly sounding guitarists. And then you get into Jimi Hendrix, another distinct sound. John Petrucci, Eric Johnson, Nuno Bettencourt, and these are not in any specific order. Buddy Guy, Jimmy Page, Vito Bratta, which I'll talk about him in a little bit. George Lynch, B.B. King, David Gilmour, again, another one with style and with sound, and not a shredder, but he just played. And when you see him play and you listen to him play, if you think playing slower means you're playing with feeling, well then David Gilmour is the guy. Brian May, Slash, Santana, Gary Moore, Mark Knopfler, big fan of Mark Knopfler. Same thing with Lindsey Buckingham, Richie Sambora, and Joe Bonamassa. Again, there are more on the list. I like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, but it's one of those things where, you can keep going on, but I think those are probably more of the more common mainstream guitarists, I think, that other people out there can relate to, more so, I guess, than the underground people that Mike was mentioning. But I think the truer guitar player will know a lot of Mike's picks as well. Now, there's probably about 23, 24 that I mentioned right there. But I'd say my top 5, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eric Clapton. And the reason why I like those guys, if you look at Satriani and Vai, I still think, I think Steve Vai is just incredible. He's just a wizard. What I like about Joe Satriani more so than Vai is that Satriani puts a lot more, I would say, melody into it.
He gets to the point in his songs.
From start to finish, and he doesn't go off track. He doesn't get wacky, and if he does, he stays inside the lines. Whereas Steve Vai has gone outside the lines, and to me, when I'm listening to a great song by Steve Vai, he goes places for me that I just would rather him stay inside the lines.
I would probably think that most even die-hard fans of Vai would agree with you. Trust me, because I would much rather have heard him make 10 more Passion and Warfares than what he's done. But because he's such a true artist and he's such a genius, he feels like he's limiting himself to just making the same record over and over again, as any artist. But still, he likes to sing. He likes to get a little wacky from his Zappa era. He was brought up in that, through Zappa's crew. So, yeah, I know what you're saying. Trust me.
Yeah, and that's why I picked Satriani. I met Steve Vai. I never met Joe Satriani. You met him a few times, actually.
Yeah.
We met Steve Vai down at it was in Long Island.
It was Long Island, yeah.
By Hofstra. It was at the Sam Ash by Hofstra.
Was it Crawl Place? Because that's where he's from.
I have no idea, but it was the Sam Ash not too far from Hofstra University in Long Island. And we waited online. I think he was signing autographs till about 6:30 at night, and it was getting dark, and I think it was probably getting ready to rain. And we were, I guess, towards the end of the line. And he waited. He actually didn't leave. He waited, and he signed every autograph past 6:30, and we go walking in, and we were with Big Bill, right, the 3 of us.
Yeah.
And I'm the shortest one of the 3. And Steve Vai, we were getting ready to take a picture with Steve Vai, and he signed our autographs. He looks up, and he goes, "Oh, you guys are way too big." He's like, "I can't take a picture sitting down." He stands up. He's about 6'2", that guy.
He's big, yeah.
And his hands are like catcher's mitts. And that's what always gets me, is that his hands are huge. And how does he work up and down that fretboard with his fingers being
he's got stick fingers. They're like little he's got big hands, but he's got skinny little fingers.
I don't know. I just thought he had mitts. They just seemed like he had a big hand. It just swallowed mine.
He's
And,
born to play, bro.
Yeah, he
Born to play.
certainly has. The list, the Guitar World list, I have some issues with it. Do you have any issues with it?
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, don't get me wrong; it's very solid, and even the issues that I have, for the most part, I understand. Because it has to be a little bit of popularity contest, also in a sense. But none of them are slouch players, except for one. It makes me irate. But besides that,
I mean, can I guess?
go ahead.
Ace Frehley.
No,
Really?
not at all. Yeah, no.
Really?
Yeah, I understand why Ace Frehley's on the list.
Yeah. Well, all right. Who is?
The name on the list?
Yeah.
Jack White.
Oh, okay.
Ridiculous it is. I don't care what anybody says. To
Well,
have him amongst this group of people it sickens my stomach.
All right. He made the cut, but he is at number 95.
Yeah.
All right, but still, I mean, he made the cut at 95. Ace Frehley is at 92.
I can give 100 more guitar players that should be in there before him.
Robert Fripp. Actually,
Well,
Robert
he's
Fripp's
in there.
probably on
He's
there.
in
Yeah.
Robert Fripp's before him.
We saw him play.
Yep.
He opened up for, I think, the G3.
He was the fourth G.
Yeah. But I think for the most part, the list is fairly accurate, absolutely accurate. The order, in my opinion, is just a little off. But what issues do you have other than Jack White?
Even if you just examine the top 10, I think it's a little off. Listen, Alex Lifeson, I am an enormous Rush fan, and I think because of the resurgence in interest in Rush that he's number 3. I think he should be in there on the list 100%, but number 3, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
And even Dimebag at number 9. I mean, I'm a huge Pantera fan since they were putting records out and love his playing. But is it because he's dead that he's in the top 10? He should be in the top 50 maybe, but 10 I'm not really sure about that either.
Yeah, no, he's 9. I don't know why he's there.
I meant the top 10.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know why he's number 9. I can understand why Steve Vai is number 10, and one behind Dimebag Darrell.
Popularity.
Popularity, yeah, obviously, but you know what? So Satriani's number 5. It's not because he's in Chickenfoot.
No. Well, listen, Joe's Joe. I know Vai and Satriani kind of go hand in hand, but Satriani is again consistency, Dom. It's all about consistency. I think a lot of the times, especially with him, he has never stopped doing what he's been doing.
No,
and he's always good.
He stayed true, absolutely.
My other issues, maybe, Dave Mustaine and Hetfield being in the top 20 when they're both rhythm guitar players. I know rhythm is important, and they're both also tremendous songwriters. They should be on the list, but I don't know about top 20. Even Vernon Reid at 26. Mark Morton from Lamb of God at 33 is ridiculous. The guy's a great player, but again, that's a popularity throw-in. Alexei Leo from Children of Bodom at 49. He's a great player. I'm not sure if he should be in the top 50. And then moving forward at 78, Chris Broderick probably would not even be on this list if he was in Megadeth. And I've been a fan of Chris Broderick since Jack Panzer. They were, an underground metal band from Colorado. The guy is a monster player. He's a teacher, but Jeff Hanneman at 85, another player who I don't think should be in the top 100, and Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold, probably another popularity throw in. He's a great player, but I don't know. I think there's some players on here that are missing from this list.
Can I give
such
you
as? Give me one, Dom. Give me one.
I need to get this off my chest.
Throw it in there.
Okay, as far as the order,
perfect segue.
The order is the order. The order is it's somebody's opinion.
But someone's missing.
There's 2 people missing. Okay, and I just don't understand. Now, look, I was a big Kiss, and I still continue to be a big Kiss fan. I don't go see them play every time they're touring, and I also don't buy every greatest hits album that they produce because Gene needs more money.
Do they have any greatest albums?
I think they have 1 or 30. I'm not too sure. I kind of
Somewhere
lost track.
in between.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many greatest hits that you need in your collection, and whatever the reason is, I don't. It's money. It's Gene wants more, and fine. You know what? You know why he does it? Because he knows he'll make it. The Kiss fans out there are just the Kiss army is just so diehard. They'll buy the same album, it's just a different color.
And I love them because I'm not a Kiss fan, but I love it because I feel the same way about the artists that I love. So I can I've been to a Kiss convention. I completely can appreciate their passion.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I'm not a fan of Kiss, I can still completely appreciate because I could have conventions for 10 bands,
Yeah.
the same conventions. Well, as many people show up, no. So, but still, I completely.
No, and absolutely. But I think looking at the list, Ace Frehley being at number 92, look, he deserves to be on the list, whether he needs to be closer to one or closer
I think he
to...
should have been closer.
No, and you know what? He should be closer to, because especially when it comes to popularity. But he definitely should have been closer to number one. How much closer, I don't know.
He's
But,
influenced so many players.
oh, absolutely, no question.
I can tell you right now, if Dimebag was alive, he'd be yelling, sitting next to us, yelling about him being at number
92.
92, yeah. So
I look at the list and I say, Richie Sambora is not on the list. Now, come on.
I know.
How is Richie Sambora not on the list?
Well, that's why it's same thing with like Mustaine and Hetfield and Kerry King and Jeff Hammond. If a lot of them aren't known for their lead playing. They're all great songwriters. You're gonna tell me love or hate Bon Jovi, and I'm not a big Bon Jovi fan either. But you're gonna tell me that Sambora's not a great songwriter?
That's why I can't understand why he's. I know this is guitar world. It's not
He's a guitar
songwriter world,
player,
but he's a guitar. Exactly.
And his solo album was "Stranger in This Town." Listen to that; it's phenomenal.
I have. Yeah. No.
Great bluesy rock, great stuff.
That's why I have a problem with that.
Right.
Okay. And my other problem is I have a bigger problem, which I'm saving for number 4. I have 4 problems. One, the order, but you know what? I can't really have a beef with the order because it's opinion.
It's a solid,
opinion.
it's a solid list, though.
It's opinion, it's popularity, it's a bunch of things, and I get that. So Richie Sambora, and you know what? You're an 80s guy. You're an 80s metal guy. I looked at this list over and over again because a lot of times I have trouble seeing something that's right in front of me. Vito Brada's not on this list.
Yeah, it's a travesty. I'm going to use that word. It's a travesty that Vito Brada's not on that list.
Now, Guitar World, it's funny that that they don't include him on the top 100. Now, look, you're not talking about the top 10 or top 20. Okay, you're talking about the top 100 guitar players of all time, okay? But Guitar World says that White Lion, okay, they ranked White Lion as one of top 20 hair metal bands of the 80s.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah, no, I know
They did
this.
it, right.
They did. So how do you make, what makes the hair metal band is the guitar sounds, okay, that bubblegum rock sound. Well, I mean, Vito Bratta was the main ingredient in that band.
Yeah.
How do you make them the top 20 and not even have him on the list?
I'm going to be honest with you. If you take Vito Bratta out of White Lion, I don't have one White Lion CD in my collection. Just like Dokken, would you take George Lynch?
Thank you.
So for guitar players, I would probably say that most guitar players will agree with me. If you take certain guitar players out of, especially that 80s era, they're not even interested. And Vito Bratta was a monster player.
If you took Eddie Van Halen out of Van Halen, is it a similar situation?
I wouldn't even listen to
I'm
them.
joking. No, just
Well, let me tell you something. I wouldn't have moved on and listened to Roth solo albums if Vi wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
After Roth left.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Know?
But Vito Bratta's not on the list, and I have a big concern with that. I have a bigger concern with Eric Clapton being number 28.
Yeah, no.
I mean, come on.
And I'm very surprised that he's in 28 on Guitar
Eric
World,
Clapton, he's more than a legend. A legend, an icon, a true inspiration. He's I don't know what to say. You know, all of his work, Yardbirds, Cream, Blind Faith, Derek and the Dominoes, his solo albums, everything that he's done. He actually put out an album in 2014. I don't know if you've ever heard of J.J. Cale. It's called The Breeze, an appreciation of J.J. Cale. And the album came out in 2014, and he did it with a whole bunch of other artists. I know Tom Petty was on there, Mark Knopfler was on there. J.J. Cale was actually a multi-instrumentalist and a songwriter, and I think probably known for his songwriting. He wrote a lot of songs for these bands, and they covered them, like After Midnight, Cocaine, Call Me the Breeze, and that's just to name a few. But that's a great album. It's a really, really good, solid album. Listen to that, though. If you ever get a chance, listen to it. But I have a problem with him being number 28. No doubt in my mind, he should be easily
Top 10.
Oh,
Top 5.
Top 5.
But here's the thing. I've done a little Clapton.
all right, maybe top 7.
Okay. I've done a little Clapton research in the past year because I decided because I saw him live on TV and I said, man, he's such a great player.
Oh, yeah.
I should listen to some of his records.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out to Vintage Vinyl.
Did you? Where is
that? Forge, New Jersey.
Okay.
And picked some of his stuff up in the used bin. And realized that some of his solo stuff, 70s, 80s, and 90s, he didn't include a lot of playing in some of that stuff. He became melded into more of a songwriter than a guitar player. So I don't. That's the only thing I can think of because I was kind of surprised because I'm like I want to hear some of his playing because he's slow hand. He's so smooth. And I was surprised to see in some of the records, I had one or two from the 70s, one from the 80s, one from the early 90s, and I just kept saying, song after song, when is he going to just let me have it, you know? And I found more of his solo playing and more of his guitar playing on his live records. Even there's a live record with Steve Winwood, which is excellent. That album with Winwood was really, really good. I found a lot of his really nice playing on that record. And I bought another live record by him that was unbelievable. The songs were longer. He jammed on it, and that's what I was looking for. And the only thing I could think of is why they put him higher on the list was that later as he went on in his career, he became more of a songwriter than an actual guitar playing. It's like he wasn't in like a band situation anymore, where he was a front man and he was a singer-songwriter, guitar player, rather than just being a guitar player in a band who went out and played, you know. He became the Eric Clapton that everybody knows.
Okay, I only have 3 words. He's Eric Clapton.
Period. I know. That's why. But I'm saying I don't know. I don't know other. What
There's
other
no
answers
excuse.
to get.
Don't try and stick up for Guitar World. There's no excuse. He's Eric Clapton, and he should not be number 28.
I agree.
That's it.
Completely agree with you.
Anybody else that you want to throw out there before we move on to the next segment?
No, because once you start me up, I can't stop.
So it's like downhill. So what? You just go.
I rolled on quite a list. People out there, if you're into guitar playing and you don't, if you haven't heard of any of the players I mentioned, if I went too fast or whatever, and you write in, ask me. There's one thing I love talking about is guitar playing and guitar music.
Yeah, now what's going to happen tomorrow is I'm going to get a call and he'll be like, oh, I forgot to mention this one. So if you want to mention, Robert Fripp or somebody else.
No, there's a handful of really good instrumental bands too. Like Blotted Science, Exivious, Exivious, Canvas Solaris, Animals as Leaders, who are atop of the pack right now as far as popularity of instrumental guitar playing music band-wise. A band out of Hungary, I believe, Special Providence. So there's even a band movement where you have not just a bunch of players playing behind a guitar player in his name, but you actually have bands now who are making what Scale of Summit, who's to me the best instrumental band out there. Definitely check those bands and players out for sure. I think you'll find at least one who you'll say, "Wow, Mike was right." I hope.
Well, that's our list. Those are our picks. Guitar is what Michael, you bleed guitar. It's funny because I started playing guitar. We went to Sam Ash. I was looking to take up an instrument. I was bored. I needed a hobby. And we went to Sam Ash and I bought an Ibanez Satriani model and a small little cheap Fender amp. And 6 months later, I switched to bass.
Slacker.
Yeah, I'm a slacker. But you know what, though? I got a lot more jobs playing bass than I did as a guitar player.
Sure did.
Definitely had a lot more fun playing bass. I sold everything and became a gear junkie for basses and decided I was never going to play again, and I sold everything, which was definitely the wrong thing to do because now I'm buying everything back. But that's just my love for music and playing, and that's just what we do. Mike has about how many guitars you have? 35?
Yeah, no. A handful.
Mike's got a handful, mostly Ibanez. In the underground world, he's.
You hear that, Ibanez? I'll accept anything you want to give me.
you would think he's sponsored by Ibanez, but he's got a lot of nice ones. I think my favorite one, if I had to pick, although I like the Petrucci model, is your Gem, the Ibanez Gem, obviously, the Steve Vai model. That is a beautiful color, style. I mean, just everything about it, just beautiful artwork. And just for the record, anybody who's listened to our podcasts, the first podcast that we did, which was the pilot, the intro song is about 2 minutes long. That was Mike and I back in 1998, I believe, in the studio when I always had my cassette tape rolling, and I was recording every studio session that we went to. I literally just started playing guitar probably not long after that. Started playing that riff. Just the rhythm part, I really did not want to become a shredder. There was enough in the group, which was Mike. And I started playing that. You came in. That literally was probably our second take. I mean, I don't think that was any more than our first or second take. We just started playing. We recorded it. It sat on a cassette tape for a really long time. And you know what? I figured I'd bust it out for the intro.
It's cool. The only thing I'm going to correct you on is I'm more of a wannabe shredder than a shredder.
Especially
then.
Very modest.
Especially then.
But the problem with that intro song is it was 2 minutes long, and I think 2 minutes is just too long for an intro song.
People will switch out before we even get to talking.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be like, oh, this song again, and then, they'll have to fast forward 2 minutes. So what we did was we actually recorded that a little bit faster, much more up-tempo, with acoustic. And we made it like 40 seconds. But that was Mike and I on...
Fast forward 20 years.
That was, well, yeah. Yeah, that was 98.
19 years.
Yeah. So
16.
So that was us. We got a lot, we have a lot of fun. You and I were in, we were in 2 bands together.
I had a lot of fun, a blast.
It definitely was good. I know.
I would have preferred to have been writing instrumental guitar music with you, but we took what we can get.
Yeah, absolutely. It was still fun getting out there and playing.
We still may do it.
Yeah, listen, you never know. I mean, that's what's good about,
Maybe one day we'll treat the people to an updated version of one of our instrumentals as the intro to our show.
Don't do that to them. They're good people.
Nah.
They're good people.
It'll only be if we feel it's worth it, trust me.
I think it's time for the artist of our podcast, Mike.
You can go first because you should.
Because I'm long-winded?
Yeah.
You need a nap? You need a little breather? My artist of the podcast is a band out of Staten Island, New York called Arthur Kill. Ken Munson on lead vocals, Mike Patillo on guitars, Rob Patillo on drums. Mike and Rob obviously are brothers and cousins to Ken Munson. They have 4 albums: You Gotta Believe, Anointing the Soul, Addiction, and The Pain. Their 4 albums now are available underneath one album called 7 Hills on iTunes. So they consolidated the albums, and you can definitely check them out. It's about 15 or 16 tracks. Definitely worth hearing. I played bass with these guys. We were getting ready to tour the United States. I had to stay back due to a family situation. But I stayed close with them, went to local shows, and I even filled in for the bass player when he couldn't make it, which was definitely a lot of fun. Currently, they're in the studio recording, but you should check them out at arthurkillrocks.com. That's ARTHURKILL rocks.com. Go on iTunes, look up the album called 7 Hills. You could also check them out at On Top Entertainment. You'll get a sample today. The outro song is a track called Can't Back Down off of their album 7 Hills. Stick around for that. And as a side note, for all you New York and New Jersey Bruce Springsteen fans, check out the band Saints in the City. It's a tribute band, full multi-piece band with horns, keyboards, percussion, solid, tight sound, high energy, featuring Ken Munson and Mike Patillo of Arthur Kill. So it's definitely worth going to see them if you're in the New York or New Jersey area. Check them out also online at saintsinthecity.com and go see them play. Those are my picks.
It's going to be tough to follow that one up because I never have as much information as you do with my bands. But I'm actually going to go against the grain today, and I'm going to give 4 different artists as my artists of the podcast. The first one's going to be Scale the Summit. They're a great instrumental band that's been around for some time. Their latest record is called Roman numeral V, or 5. It's their 5th record. Check them all out. They're all great. It's not just about, none of these albums are about just straight up guitar playing and shredding. They're solid song records. You can probably find all of their records on Amazon or any of the any streaming device. The next artist is Plini, Plini. His most recent record is Handmade Cities. But again, anything the guy does, as soon as he touches the guitar, it's heavenly. He's a great player. You can find him on Bandcamp. Sithu A, Sithu, and his last name is Aye. His newest record is called Set Course for Andromeda, also on Bandcamp. He's fantastic. And my last artist is Intervals, Intervals, and their latest record is called Shape and Color, which is, in my opinion, their best. Aaron Marshall really outdid himself this time. Great instrumental playing, all songs. You could also find him on Bandcamp as well. There are a lot of great players out there on Bandcamp and just doing their own thing. Please check these artists out. I don't think you'll be sorry. You'll see why I brag about them so much.
So now it's time for the answers to the trivia questions.
People have been waiting since the beginning. So
because you're a windbag talking about your guitarist.
I know.
They had to wait about 50 minutes for this.
We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. Actually, everybody out there, you're lucky it wasn't 2 hours.
Number 1, what is Saul Hudson's stage name? The answer is Slash from GNR.
Exactly.
I guess he felt Saul Hudson wasn't going to cut it on stage in the late 80s in L.A.
I think Slash works a little bit better. You think his mom calls him Slash, or you think she calls him Saul still?
Probably Saul.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Saul.
You didn't finish your broccoli, Saul.
Number 2, who is the only 3-time Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee? Dom?
If he had a football jersey and he was wearing it, you know what number he would have on the back? Number 28. Eric Clapton.
Where it should be at least 1 through 7.
I 1 through 5.
Yeah, Eric Clapton is the answer. Once as a solo artist, next as a member of the Yardbirds, and third as a member of Cream. And number 3, my favorite question, name the 2 guitar companies John Petrucci endorsed during his career. Who's John Petrucci? One would be Ibanez and Ernie Ball. That was the 2 guitar companies he endorsed. And B was, who was the main influence for him switching from one company to the other? The great Steve Morse. One of his personal favorites and influences and friend, I'm sure.
I would think that number 3 would probably been the hardest answer to. I mean, anybody who watches John Petrucci play, they'll know he plays an Ernie Ball. But will they really know Steve Morse? So that was definitely a good question.
I still like his Ibanez better. That Picasso model was awesome.
They're all nice. They're all. I mean, just every artist out there who's got a guitar. I don't like the ones with the clef shapes in there. I'm not a big hollow body.
I know.
Style guitar.
There's certain models I don't like their styles.
My favorite guitar style, like look, is Ace Frehley's model.
The Les Paul.
Yeah, no question.
I'm an Ibanez guy.
Yeah, no, I know that. I know that you are. As far as bass, you know what? I love the Music Man. But for me, Warwick and Spector are the top 2 basses that I love playing.
There are a lot of up-and-coming guitar companies that...
Yeah.
But they're very expensive, a lot of these companies. They're not really affordable. But there's a lot of really nice guitars being made, handmade models that you could order. But
yeah, if you have a few $1,000s to just kick around, sure, no problem. But you know what though, being out of music for a while, I mean, I took the hiatus from playing bass, even though I wasn't out of music totally. But I wasn't the gear junkie that I was when I was playing. And I go into the store now and I'm like, oh my, what?
in a toy store.
Yeah, I mean, it's all new stuff. A lot of it is all new. All right, Mike, it's time. It's time to land the plane and wrap this show up.
Let's wrap it up.
Coming up next, our outro song from the band Arthur Kill, their track, Can't Back Down, off of their album 7 Hills. For now, I am Dom, and across from me is...
Still Mike, and we are out.
So you believe that open up your eyes and see that this whole damn world to disbelieve. I can't back down, I can't back down, I can't back down to you. I can't back down, I can't back down, I won't back down to you. I can't back down, I can't back down, I can't back down to you. I can't back down, I can't back down, I won't back down to you. Get through life with no sacrifice. You just intimidate the weaker minds. You make your threats with no regrets. So what you gonna do when you gotta stand and fight? I bet you'll fall, I bet you'll crawl back into that hole where you belong. I always knew you had no heart. You bought your badge